Hi guys, it's Granny Tanner speaking. Are you ready for Talundia? Welcome to this Unreal Engine Devlog video. I've already told you that I want to develop a garden game. Today we are starting with a version of this game. While I'm working, I'll tell you about all the details. So let's get started. Here I have my landscape. This is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. I think for the beginning it's big enough. Maybe we'll make it bigger later. And the first thing I want to do is surround this landscape area, where is the play area, with some mountains. And I made those mountains in the program World Machine. I already used World Machine for making mountains for my maps, for example. And that's the reason why all my maps have different mountains around them. And now I use it for my Unreal world. Yes, but maybe while I'm doing this, we start from the beginning. And the first thing is, what is Talundia? Talundia will be the name of my upcoming game. And yeah, maybe you already know from my previous videos that I want to make a garden game where you don't make a decorative garden, but rather grow vegetables, something like a micro farm as it is called in our days, when you grow vegetables for a living. So you grow more than you use, but you are more or less self-sustainable, and then you sell everything that you produce more, either in your own market stall or you sell it to the town, to shops and so on. And that's what my game will be all about. And I think not only gardening, we will have fruit trees as well, and maybe some home productions like strawberry jam that you sell, and pickles from your cucumbers, and so forth. So rural bucolic life. And I was thinking about a name for this game. I didn't want to call it something like Garden Simulator. First, there is already a game that is called like that, and that is more about the decorative gardening. And and I don't want to put the expectations too high, because when a game is called simulator, a lot of people expect that it simulates the reality perfectly. And I already know, even when I want to make my game rather realistic, it won't be a perfect simulation. It can't be, because then it would be much too tedious, too much grinding and so on. So no gardening simulator whatsoever, no simulator in the name. And I wanted a name that has something to do with homesteading, because somehow that what I want to do is a homesteading game. In English there is this wonderful word homesteading for such a kind of miniature farm also, and this idea of homesteading. And we don't have this in German, strangely enough. And yeah, but I didn't want to call the game Homestead as well, because if you type Homestead in Google, there are millions of websites that have to do with homesteading, and I want that if someone types the name of my game into Google, then they get exactly my game and nothing else, or more or less nothing else. And then I thought, okay, I search for words that mean something like homestead in different languages, in languages that I don't know. And then I found a lot of interesting words, but the word from the ethnic language for something like rural, cozy, bucolic homestead was Talund. And I thought, okay, that is rather nice. It sounds totally different than everything I ever heard. And maybe we can do something with this name. And then we came up with Talundia. Because I don't want a normal word in a different language. I only wanted to have this translation for inspiration. And that's what Talundia is all about. It's inspired by the ethnic word, so Estonia. I think Estonia is the English word for this country. It's in the Baltic Sea, very far close to Finland, and the language is rather similar to Finnish as well. Yeah, and I like this word, and I like Talundia as a name for my upcoming game even better, and therefore the game will be Talundia. And yeah, what are we doing here in the meantime? I'm surrounding my landscape with mountains. First I had some lower mountains, and now they get a little bit steeper, and we will even have even more steeper mountains. And then in the end, when you are standing on the landscape, you will feel like surrounded by different mountains. And as you can see, I resize them ever so slightly, sometimes more in this direction, sometimes more in this, and I turn them around. And then as each mountain has several sides, it will look like different mountains in the end. From the top here you see, okay, I have two different kinds of mountains, but from down there it will look better. And that's yeah, a lot of level builders and map makers use this technique for surrounding mountains, because then you only need like 3 different meshes, and you can populate all around your world with interesting mountains. Yeah, and the idea is that Talundia is surrounded by mountains, as you can see, and it will be, yeah, hilly, but more like yeah, a valley in the mountains. And yeah, it will have one hill area that is more into the area like a peninsula, and this will have a castle later on, but not today. Later, I don't know when, but I'm looking forward to building the castle. And yeah, why a castle? Because I like it. I think that's the only reason, and I already got assets to build a castle, and I thought, oh yes, we definitely need a castle, and then we make a tavern in this castle. But now first we need all the mountains. We need, yeah, even more mountains. As you can see, several parts are still empty. And yeah, now we are taking the third mountain type, which is this. This is the better one, yes, and I make it bigger. And yeah, in the beginning they are only 1 meter big. Here we are. And it's very pointy, and therefore I stretch it a little bit to make it less pointy. Yeah, so now I push it back and forth, and we make several, and we make a group of steep mountains out of them. Somehow this method of using some shapes of mountains to build a mountain area is really nice and interesting. And yeah, you can spend hours with this, but as this video shouldn't be 1 or 2 days long, but maybe 1 hour or a little bit longer, therefore we can't spend hours and hours to fine tweak it. Oh yes, and now that's I told you about the name and why it's called Talundia, and what is the main feature, or will be the main feature of the features of the game. But what am I doing here? As you can see, I'm building the game before I already made other devlogs as well, and I showed you yeah, what I learned and what I built, what I tried. And this is a little bit different now, because right now we really start working on the game. But this, what we see now and what I'm building here today, will not be the final game. I thought about, I start making a real landscape as I plan it for my game Talundia, and we put in all the features one after the other. So maybe first we build a farm or a little homestead, and then next time we add the gardening beds where the plants will grow, and then next time maybe we put in the chicken, and then always I try to make everything that I build make functional. Maybe not at once, but sooner or later, and because that is what I need to do. Not only building a landscape, a level, but in the end everything should have a function. You need to grow the vegetables, and you need to feed the chicken and get the eggs, or raise little chicklets and then sell the eggs to a vendor, or sell it at your own market stall, and so on and so forth. And maybe to be able to buy a market stall and place it at your homestead, and all these kinds of things. And so I have to learn a lot, and I have to build a lot, and I want to take you with me on my journey, at least at the most interesting parts. And so with this testing world, we stitch together all the different features of this upcoming game, and then when everything is ready, so to say, I will take these elements that are on this testing map, and I will build the final Talundia world. Because here, as I'm still in the learning stage, I'm sure I will make quite a lot of mistakes, and maybe I hit some walls and have some cul-de-sacs in my development, where I decide, okay, I shouldn't have done it in this way, it should be different. And when it's already built into everything, sometimes it's hard to change it. But when I think, okay, this is good and this is good and this is good, but that didn't work out, I have to make it different. Then when I build my final build of Talundia, here I'm putting the player start onto the landscape, that we can have a look how it looks from the ground, because from the top it looks rather strange, and from the ground it should look okayish or good. So here we are. Yes, I would say it's okay for the beginning. Yeah. And here comes the grass, all the grass. And maybe you will remember from my previous devlogs, I had this landscape material with this very, very thin grass that was rather yellowish. And I like this landscape material. It was from Brushify. But somehow I thought it's not so good for my upcoming Talundia, because I want Talundia to be in a lush and fertile area where you can grow all kinds of vegetables and fruits, and so it's surrounded by mountains, but the climate and the soil should be fertile and friendly. And this grass and the whole landscape material from Brushify, I like it, but I didn't like it for Talundia because it was too harsh, too desaturated and so. And anyhow, I wanted to do my own landscape material, where I know exactly where I can make changes when I want to change something, and when I want to add something, that is somehow a landscape material where I am the master of the material. And that's what I did. I already had one, but I refined it a lot. I made it totally different, and I found this grass and the flowers, which I like as a base for the grassy areas of my landscape. And it's it should be rather good for the performance, and which is always good, I guess. Yeah, and I made some refinements, and some of them we will use in this video, and later on we will use some others. So we will make a forest ground and dirt and so. And yeah, after I was done with this landscape material, I thought, okay, now it's somehow time to start with building the game, building the level for the game. And that's what I'm doing here right now with you. And as you can see, those flowers, they look rather natural. They are images from real flowers and built into a mesh. So all those flowers that we see here are very common in Central Europe, where I live, and you can see them everywhere. I don't know whether they are common where you live, but yeah, as I come from this Central Europe area, I think I will build Talundia on this experience, because with this I have most of my experience, and therefore I like it to have plants and flowers already that fits to what I know. So now I'm rather happy with the mountains for the beginning, and now it's time to sculpt the landscape, because I don't want it to stay totally flat, obviously. And yeah, I want to have the farm, the homestead, rather at the center, and because then you don't have to walk so long to all different kinds of places of the map. And I want to have at least one village, maybe a bigger village and a tiny village in opposite ends. And I want to have a hill with a castle, what I already told you. And here I'm putting a dirt spot for the upcoming homestead. This won't stay like that. It's just to get an idea. Okay, I want to have the homestead there, and then I can place other things. Yeah, with the idea, okay, here we will live at least at the beginning. So, and the building of the homestead, this will be a multi-part job, because it's not, first I make a simple hut, I guess, and then, as I already told you, the gardening beds and decoration around, and the shed and the chicken and this and this and that. And so this will be a lots of videos just to build the homestead, and then yeah, the village and the castle on the hill. So I thought the where the hill with the castle is, the village will be as its foot, so to say, so beneath the castle, because that's very often that there is a castle, and when the castle is on top of a little mountain, then in the valley down underneath, a village is built where all the people live that work at the castle or work for the castle also, and therefore I want to make the village close to the castle. And I think here, there, over there is a good place. I didn't manage to put my homestead in the real center, therefore we have more place over there in the top area, and therefore I think I'll make the mountain there, the mountain for the castle, and then the village. Yeah, so we go to the sculpting area, and I want to sculpt with alpha brushes. And alpha brushes are a very interesting method to sculpt landscape. And here I have found from Brushify, and I thought, okay, I can do this myself. And I did it myself, and they look like star clouds in the universe, but that's only because they are three different layers of grayscale material, and so I have 3 of those alpha brushes in one file, and that makes it so colorful. And now first we start with the red layer, and then it's only grayscale, and it resembles the lower mountains from the surrounding. So we can just try it out. So let's start. Okay. Yeah, it's happening. And now it's already too steep. But you can see, you don't get just a bulk as with the normal sculpting tool. Here I show you. This would be the normal sculpting tool, but with Alpha Brush you get a shape, and that makes it much easier to make interesting mountain and hill shapes. And therefore I made those Alpha Brushes, and I want to try to build the landscape of this Talundia map with such an Alpha Brush. Yeah, I think it's more Alpha Brush and not Alpha. Sorry. So now I try it very carefully that I don't get such steep points. And as you can see, when you click several times and you move the cursor, then you don't have this distinct shape, but they add up to each other, and you can make quite interesting shapes. And on this I want to build the castle later on. And I'm sure I will have to modify it to build a castle there. But yeah, for the first beginning, it looks nicer than just a bump in the landscape, I would say. Yeah, I want to check whether you can see the height of it, but sadly they don't show you how high your landscape is. I would love it. Maybe I don't know where to have see it. But so I have a different measurement, and this is part of one surprise, or this. Yeah, I'll show you already the first part of the surprise that I have for you, because I got some people that look very old-fashioned. And as my Talundia game will be without tractors and without cars, it's very old-fashioned. And I found 4 very old-fashioned people. And I don't know yet whether I will use them in the final game, but for now it's the best I could get. And this is one of those old-fashioned guys, and I think, yeah, it's okay, this hill is big enough for a castle. Yeah, then I can go on, and I let just stand him there. And as I have 4 person, I can use one, the young girl, as the main character for the beginning, and the others can work as NPCs. And I'm sure I will find a rather big variety of people. And maybe I even learn how to do them myself, but for now I'm happy when I find people. And I was not so happy with this meta-human woman. She looked okayish, but too modern. And yeah, I didn't find an easy solution to make her look more old-fashioned. But now I got an old-fashioned young woman. And later in the game you will have the choice to play as a man or a woman, obviously. And I don't know yet how much character creation possibilities you will have. That is something we will see. So now I make some small hills around the map, that when you are running around on the map you don't see the border of the landscape so much. And yeah, there will be the border of the accessible area in the end at this small hills here. And here I'm trying the different alpha brush. This is the one with this mountains here that are so long and high. And if you this alpha brush always turns, so it get different shapes, but somehow, yeah, it's not so good for landscape painting, I think. And now I use this steep mountain, and I think it's too pointy. If I wanted to make steep mountains on a much bigger map, then it would be okay, I would say. But here as this small hills, it's not so good. I think I flatten it. So, or first I try to smooth it, but no, it just looks smoothed. The other alpha brush looked better, I think. So they are gone again, and then yeah, we choose the first one again, and yeah, and somehow that is something nice about this. Did I tell you? Yeah, I think I told you that I want to make this test Talundia, so to say. That I built everything, or more or less everything, that should come into Talundia, but this will not be the final version. It is more for testing purposes and try everything out. And then I don't need to make everything so perfect, because right now I just paint those hills and it's good for the time being. And yeah, in the final version I will make this much more with much more thought about it, and try to make it as perfect as possible, and so forth. So now I want to try to make a little lake, because I always like lakes, and I think I will make a river too. First I make just slight elevations, so no more hills, but that not everything is flat, but a little bit curvy, little bit rolling hills, but very, very slightly only. And for this alpha brush is very good too, because when you do it with the normal sculpting tool, it doesn't come out really natural. And like this, you can already see it. I think it looks rather natural. Yeah, and then the next thing is I want to make a little lake. So It should be over there, I think. Yeah, and instead of rising it, I have to dig a hole. So, yeah, I think for the first try it's rather okay-ish. So it was just saving and was a little bit so. And now I want to flatten this area where the castle should come. So I make it smaller and then flatten. Maybe in this side, then this top area will still be towering over the castle. Let's see whether this will be a good solution. So okay. Yeah. I was just thinking about here. I change this edge a little bit. Maybe with some noise. Okay. Yeah. And there will be the place for the castle. And then later we will make roads that lead up to the castle and so forth. So here maybe we will make the village a little bit elevated. And I don't know yet where I want to make rivers, but I will find places where I want to make rivers. Yeah, and that is something what I like about the idea to just start building, and this is not the final version, so I can just build and it doesn't need to be perfect now. So now I'm trying to make a first small road. So no real road, more something like a dirt road. Because it's very, very rural and I'm using a spline function for this. And yeah, this is rather nice how this works. I have to get to know all the tricks and details with this, but I already got it to work. If you watched my previous video, you have seen that, or already 2 previous videos, you have seen that there was a small road across the landscape, and that was already made by such a spline. And with such a spline you get quite a bunch of possibilities. And you can have rather similar features in the Giants editor. So a lot of this, what I'm doing here, I could do in a similar way in the Giants editor, but here in the Unreal Engine I have more freedom and more possibilities, I would say. And in the end, I can make my own game with all my own functions, and that is quite different than to making a map in the Giants editor. But it's more difficult. So I have to learn how to give the game all the functions that I wanted to have. So yeah, the map building is rather similar, but with more features in the Unreal Engine. But then I have to teach my game everything it needs to know. So now I have to make some tweaks and adjustments. And it doesn't work as I wanted it to work, but I will find out. So yes, now I have all the segments. Okay, it doesn't paint the road. It's when I use these buttons, then it sculpts the landscape according to the spline, so I could put it lower down, or the whole spline, and now it worked, but it is too wide, the dirt. So this is the other function. It paints if you want, and it paints with a different landscape texture. And I want it to be smaller, but I will find out, don't worry. And I'm thinking, when I put such a spline and put it down, maybe 1 or 2 meters, then I could sculpt a river with such a spline. I hope so. And maybe I can even make the water of the river, and maybe the shores of the river, or the river bank, and with such a spline. But for this I have to learn quite a lot. So here I'm thinking about the width is clear. The width is the width of the spline, and then I have a side fall off and an end of fall off, and I think when I change maybe, so I made it narrower, the spline itself, but this didn't work. It's still too wide, and maybe it has something to do with the width of the fallout. So I make this narrower. And yeah, as my devlog videos are no tutorials, sometimes I say things like, oh, I do it like this and this because, oh, now it works. This is the right width. And so maybe if you are a developer yourself, maybe you can learn some things here and there, but it's not the purpose of the video to make a tutorial, and therefore the part of the viewport is big, and the writings at the side are not so big. If I would make a tutorial, the letters would be bigger to show you everything, but I don't know yet whether I will make tutorials at all, because those devlog videos are more not so much for other developers, but more for people who are interested in how games are made and to be part of this journey and to see, oh yes, this is an interesting journey and this is how a game is made. And so more for the future players of Talundia. Or maybe if you're just curious what Granny Turner is doing when she is not playing Farm Sim. So now I use some riverbank texture for this area for the lake. And then we put some water into it. And the lake won't be refined in this video because it's already too long, as is typical for me. And yeah, but just a simple water plane, and then that's it for the moment, that we have a little lake. Somehow I always need some rivers and or lakes in everything that I build, so when it's a landscape building, like a map or yeah, such a game level. And what I really like about this developing my own game is that I have much more freedom in what I want to offer for the players. So now it's only a white plane, and we can search for a water material. Here are those 4 people, but you already saw them. And here I just take this water material for the time being. Should be okay. Here maybe the river bank or the lake bank. Or what is the edge of a lake? Is it a shore, or is a shore more like for the sea? Yeah, and maybe I just forgot a word. But you know what I mean, I guess. So, I think now it's time for making some forests, because it shouldn't stay all plain meadow, and some forests are needed, especially on those hills at the edge, but also in the center, to give the landscape some structure. So, and I have a special forest texture layer, and with different plants. You already saw those grass with some flowers and so, and for the forest I have different foliage. And later I show you. Now first I paint a little bit, and maybe you can see here, this is also a texture or a part of a material that shows rock when it's too steep. Like with the grass, we it uses the same rock, and when it is steeper than a certain angle, then we don't see the forest texture but the rock texture. And first I only was able to make one type of texture layer with this automatic mode, and now I'm able to have several textures that show rock when they are too steep, or I could even implement other things, but for the moment I only have when it's too steep, show rock. And I learned how to here now you can see we have some bushes and stones and fern and some flowers and sometimes a little bit grass, and so this is the undergrowth of the forest what we can see. And maybe you think, okay, when you can put automatic bushes, why not automatic trees while painting this forest layer? Yes, that's what I thought too, and I thought, oh, it would be fantastic if I could if I paint a forest, I have the forest texture on the ground, I have the undergrowth, some stones, and the trees already. And in a test level, I made it work, so it worked perfectly fine. I just painted and I had trees, ready-made forest, just one painting, and the forest was done. But these trees, I couldn't give them collision. So the collision means that when you run against it, then it stops you. And I didn't find a possibility, or a simple enough possibility to give those trees or bushes or whatsoever I'm placing in with this method a collision. And then I thought, okay, I have to do it either the old-fashioned way, what I will do in a minute, or I have to use this new and modern PCG method, and I will try it. But for the time being, I just paint the trees with the foliage mode, and this is working nice, and it's fast enough, so at the moment there is no need for this PCG automatic procedural biome, but sooner or later I will work with it. So now we just search for some trees that I prepared. I took the trees from this Brushify pack that I have, and also some trees from one of those medieval building packs. And yeah, for the time being it's enough, but I'm still searching for trees that look nice but are performance friendly. And I have trees, wonderful trees from Megascan trees, so very realistic, but only the tree asset had already 9 gigabytes to download, and it was so performance heavy, it had so huge textures that I immediately deleted it. When I wanted to try it, I thought, no, even if it's the most beautiful tree that I can imagine, I want to make a game for players, and I don't want to make the most beautiful landscape for a film project just for cinematic uses with my actual computer is very old, so I couldn't use it. But when I would finally have a more modern PC, I could make cinematic camera views with the most beautiful landscape. For this, it's nice. So first I make some only pine trees areas, and then later I put some leaf trees as well. So we have mixed forest. Yeah, and therefore I'm searching for trees that look good, but are not so performance hungry. Because, yeah, I want to make a game for players and not for the most high-rated computers you can imagine. It won't be a game for very, very weak PCs, and yeah, and no game for old consoles, because with this rather realistic look you need some computer power. But maybe when people like this game so much and wish for for a version on weaker hardware, where maybe I will make a similar game with low poly assets or so. We will see. Right now I think I can be happy when I finish this game and I will be able to sell it, and it's, yeah. But I always tend to think on future ideas. So in my mind I already have at least 5 to 10 different game ideas and variations, and I think, oh, maybe I can do a mobile game of Talundia with low poly assets and so forth. But yeah, it's already a lot to do just to finish one game. Okay, so now I think it's time for other trees as well. I have some strange birch trees. I don't like them so much, and the maple trees are nicer, and some elm trees that are quite nice. The elm trees are not from the Brushify pack, but from the one of those medieval building packs. And I was really lucky to find those, I already told you about this, I think in my last video, this humble bundle packet, pack or a bundle of several packs from the same author, or most of the packs were from the same author, and with medieval like buildings and environment and stuff. And at least here in Germany a lot of old-fashioned villages have still a lot of elements from medieval buildings. So when you have timber frame buildings, that doesn't only fit in a medieval setting but also in our world now. And if you ask what I'm doing here, I'm tweaking those that they really work. So they have different sizes from 0.8 to 1.2, and I deactivate the align to normal, because with align to normal the trees don't stand straight, but according to the ground. And when you are on a hill, oh, this is too much. Yeah, I need to decrease the density. When you are on a hill, they stand not straight, and therefore with align normal deactivated, they always stand straight up, upright. Yeah, I think this is okay, and now I start painting my mixed forest. So and I really find it fascinating how fast you can build such a thing with the Unreal Engine. Yeah, but then when you have this landscape and some forests, it already looks nice, but then the work begins. So the work is to not only place villages and houses and so, but to give everything a function. And that will be the time-consuming part of this journey. And yeah, I still have to learn a lot, but I'm already learning, so don't worry. I make a blueprint masterclass now, so not as an author, but as a pupil, and to get some basics for this blueprint programming method. Yeah, and I already am a programmer since 40 years, but this blueprint stuff is new to me, and in the beginning it feels rather strange, but I think in the end maybe it's even more easy than to write code. And they want to give us the possibility to write rather easy scripting code for the Unreal Engine. The language will be called Verse, and it's already used with the Fortnite development area, development thingy. Sorry. And yeah, then I have to learn this because this Verse is a totally new programming language, but it will be much easier than this C++, which can already be used for the Unreal Engine, but C++ is something really for higher priesthood of the programmers, and I never learned to program in C++, and it's, yeah, I think it's really difficult. And yeah, nothing for me. The different programming languages really differ in difficulty level. So yeah, I think I leave it a little bit sparsely with the trees there. And as this level building is so rather easy, as you can see, and okay, even if you have all your stuff together, with all the functionality, and so I think it will even take months to build a working level. But yeah, I'm thinking on making Talundia a game where different levels are possible. So levels not in an as you get better and better, you level up, but more like different maps where you can explore different landscape and maybe even different possibilities, different additional functions or so. And yeah, but somehow I really like to make those landscapes, and it would be sad to only have one of them. And yeah, I guess maybe it would work like you go to some edge of this map here, and then do you want to go to whatsoever, and then you have a loading screen and enter the new valley, or yeah. And then I could first publish the game with one of those level and landscapes, and later I could add additional ones. So now we put the player start to the future homestead. So like that. Okay. Yeah, it is looking in this direction. Oh, this is okay. Yeah, and I think I quite like it. It's still very empty, but it will fill up, don't worry. It always fills up much too fast usually. So now we go into the game. So let's start. Is everything ready? Yes, and here we are. And this is the second part of the surprise of the people. This is the young woman of those 4 old-fashioned people. And yeah, I guess she won't be the final model of the game, but for the moment I think it's quite okay. And she looks really old-fashioned. Yeah. And now we can walk around a little bit. Okay. And as you can see, she's really busy running. Look, this landscape. And it was easy to make it, wasn't it? And for my taste, it already looks like something like, oh, I would love to go hiking there. And always when I get the feeling, oh, I would love to go hiking there, then I think it's rather okay. So maybe we go to the future castle hill. Well, the hill is already there, but the castle not yet. I'm looking forward to building this castle. And it will have some functions. So at least something like a tavern where you can sell your stuff. And maybe even where you can sit and meet some people. And oh, and here is the guy from before, buried in the ground. I will change this later. and I can use those other guys as NPCs. So this is rather steep, so there will be some work to do with building roads up to this hill. So here we are. Yeah, maybe we go on top of this little hill, and then we have hopefully a good overview. Yeah, put several trees, but here you can see the trees, and I like them as they are. So here, yeah, and there we can have a look in the other direction. Yeah, little too many trees. Maybe I find a better spot. Yeah, here, this is good. And maybe I'll build a tower there later for the big overview. That would be a perfect space for a tower on this small mountaintop there. Here, look. Yeah, that's it for the first testing version of Talundia. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for watching and all the best. Till next time. Tschüss.